Good evening, everyone. It's Tuesday, May 11th, late afternoon, early evening. This is not our sort of typical time, venue, or slot, but I must send this out to you because of what's happening to our brothers and sisters in Israel. I'm sure everybody's trying the best they can to keep abreast of the very, very alarming news coming out of Israel, with hundreds and hundreds of rockets being volleyed into the major cities of Israel. And you could see on the graphic that's attached to the email about how far-reaching these are. When I got a call from our daughter in Herzliya from a bomb shelter. Herzliya, which we don't normally associate with rocket sirens and alarms, bomb shelters. You're talking about north of Tel Aviv, and people who were killed today because of direct rocket fire. And these rockets, which are meant and intended to maim and to injure innocent civilians, women and children, and not to mention the clashes that are taking place, the celebrations from Israeli Arabs. And the mayor of Lod just announced, and he urgently asked the prime minister to send in the military to restore law and order in Lod, which is a mixed town. Very, very disturbing events, and just more and more rockets that are coming. I had a red alert app on my phone that I actually had to shut off last night because it didn't stop. And you can imagine that for us, it's an alert on a phone, but people who live in Israel and who have to very much in real time find shelter, and our thoughts and our prayers are with them. And I've been all day on WhatsApp, messages, phone calls, briefings, webinars with all various different groups in Israel, figuring out sort of what's going on, but what can we do to help. So I just wanted to give you, our Kehila, a few things that we can do to help. Again, this is not about, we're not talking about coming to shul, raising money for a barbecue. This is not what this is about. This is about what you could do right now for Israel. And it pains me because you know that in regular times, but if it weren't a pandemic era, that Alan Scholl and I would already be on a plane to Israel going. And you have no idea how much it pains me that I can't just do that. But number one, of course, we have to daven. We have to daven for Israel, as we have been already each night. So please join us tonight at 7:50 in shul. Between Mincha and Maariv, we're going to say special Tehillim. But if you can't make it to shul, doesn't mean that you can't say Tehillim. You can always daven. You should take on perhaps a special mitzvah in honor of the protection of our brothers and sisters in Israel. Study Torah, give tzedakah, something like that. I think it's also important that we are informed, that we see what's going on. There are no shortage of outlets, of proper outlets, where you could see what's really going on, news on the ground and what's happening. And I think also that we have to make every effort to keep our lawmakers informed. Please reach out. You'll see the numbers attached to the email. Reach out to the office of Mikey Sherrill, our congresswoman. Please reach out to our senators, Cory Booker, Robert Menendez. Let them know that you think it's important for them to support Israel. Please don't let our lawmakers buy into this narrative of a moral equivalency, that both sides have to calm down. No country in the world, no other country in the world would ever tolerate having thousands and thousands of missiles thrown at them over a series of years, not to mention hundreds and hundreds in an hour, which we have seen in places like Ashkelon and even on metropolis of Tel Aviv. No one would ever put up with that. And yet, for some reason, Israel has to be what they call the moral army, etc., etc., etc. Our citizens deserve to be protected. They deserve to live in a society where they don't have to fear from rocket fire coming from above. So please contact them. They keep notes. They log every single call, every email that they get, so that when you want something, they know, oh, you reached out to me. But just thank them for their support of Israel. Make sure they continue to support Israel, because we're lucky that we have very pro-Israel members of Congress, in the House and in the Senate. Not every district has that. And if you really want to be sick, you could read some of our non-friends of Israel and what they have to say today about what's taking place and how they are skewing the narrative. So we have to do our part to make sure that the narrative is presented in a straightforward manner. If you feel you want to give of your resources, by all means, there are plenty that could certainly use it. First responders, people like United Hatzalah, friends of the IDF, and JNF and communities that are affected by that, or even if you want to invest in the state of Israel, who may need capital going forward, buy an Israel bond, again, showing your support for our brothers and sisters. But most important, we have to act together as a community, and we have to feel the pain of those who are going through a horrible couple of days right now, people who can't sleep, workers that are working around the clock. We see the images and we see the videos of what's taking place. We have to do something. So daven, do a mitzvah, be informed, make sure that our lawmakers are informed, and let us hope that this escalation, which is very alarming, will come to an end very soon, and that there'll be peace in Israel amongst our brothers and sisters, because that's all we really want. The IDF is an Israel Defense Force. It's not an offensive force, it's a defense force, and that's what we want it to be. So please, we should daven for Shalom al Yisrael. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this and for acting upon it.